Avoidant love is often misunderstood because it doesn't follow the loud rules of modern relationships. It doesn't chase intensity, demand constant reassurance, or rely on emotional extremes to feel real. Instead, it builds connection quietly through consistency, calm, and emotional responsibility. This video explores the rarely discussed strengths avoidant partners bring into relationships and how those traits create deep, stable love over time. If you've ever felt confused by an avoidant partner's behavior or questioned whether calm can truly be love, this perspective will change how you see connection, commitment, and emotional safety. Why is avoidant love so often labeled as cold, distant, or uncaring? And more importantly, what if that label is completely wrong? Most people are taught that love should look loud. Frequent reassurance, constant emotional sharing, visible need, immediate closeness. So when an avoidant partner doesn't express love this way, the assumption is instant, they don't care enough. But here's the question no one asks. What if avoidant love isn't absent, just expressed differently? Avoidant partners often experience love internally before they express it externally. They don't rush toward emotion, they regulate it. They don't chase intensity, they choose stability. And because this kind of love doesn't create emotional noise, it's often overlooked. Another reason avoidant love is misunderstood is because it doesn't demand attention. It doesn't test loyalty. It doesn't create emotional highs just to feel close again. Instead, it shows up quietly through consistency, reliability, and respect for space. But ask yourself this: is love proven by emotional intensity or by emotional safety? Avoidant partners often learned early that self-reliance was safer than emotional dependence. So when they love, they don't cling, they commit. They don't overwhelm, they protect. They don't perform love, they live it. The problem isn't that avoidants don't feel deeply. The problem is that society mistakes calm for indifference, boundaries for rejection, and emotional control for emotional absence. And once you understand this, everything changes, because you stop asking, why don't they love louder, and start asking the real question, what kind of love actually lasts? This is where the truth about avoidant love begins. Emotional self-regulation is one of the most powerful strengths avoidant partners bring into relationships. Yet it often goes unnoticed because it doesn't announce itself. It shows up quietly, in pauses, in restraint, in the ability to stay grounded when emotions run high. While others may react instantly, avoidant partners create space between feeling and action, and that space changes everything. They don't rush to discharge emotions onto their partner. Instead, they sit with them, sort through them, and decide what actually needs to be shared. This creates conversations that feel measured rather than explosive, honest rather than overwhelming. Over time, this approach builds trust because emotions aren't used as weapons or leverage. In moments of conflict, emotional self-regulation becomes especially visible. Avoidant partners are less likely to escalate tension, raise their voice, or seek control through emotional intensity. They bring steadiness into situations that could easily spiral. Their calm doesn't shut connection down, it stabilizes it. This strength also protects the relationship from emotional exhaustion. Love doesn't feel like a roller coaster. There's no constant fear of triggering a reaction or managing another person's emotional state. Instead, there's room to breathe, think, and respond thoughtfully. That sense of emotional safety is rare, and it grows stronger over time. What many people misunderstand is that self-regulation isn't emotional suppression. Avoidant partners feel deeply, but they choose responsibility over impulsivity. They respect the impact their emotions can have on the relationship, so they handle them with care. This quiet discipline creates a foundation where love can mature. Problems get addressed without damage, feelings get expressed without chaos, and connection develops in a way that feels sustainable rather than draining. Emotional self-regulation may not look romantic at first glance, but it is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity and one of the strongest pillars of deep, stable love. Stability is not accidental for avoidant partners. It is intentional. While some relationships rely on emotional highs and lows to feel alive, avoidant partners choose steadiness as their foundation. They don't seek excitement through conflict or intensity. They build connection through predictability, reliability, and emotional balance. This preference for stability changes how love is experienced. Moments don't swing wildly between closeness and distance. Affection doesn't need tension to feel meaningful. The relationship develops a rhythm that feels calm, grounded, and secure. Over time, that rhythm becomes a place of emotional rest rather than emotional strain. Avoidant partners instinctively avoid drama because they understand its cost. Emotional chaos drains trust, distorts communication, and creates insecurity. Instead of reacting to every emotional surge, they stay centered. They allow emotions to settle before responding, which prevents small issues from becoming lasting damage. This doesn't mean they avoid difficult conversations. It means they approach them without theatrics. Concerns are addressed directly, not through emotional testing or conflict escalation. Disagreements don't turn into power struggles. They remain conversations, not crises. Stability also shows up in consistency. Avoidant partners tend to be reliable in their actions. Even when emotions fluctuate, they show up when they say they will. They maintain routines. They keep their word. These behaviors quietly reinforce trust, creating a sense of safety that grows stronger with time. Many mistake drama for passion and calm for boredom, but stability is what allows passion to last. Without constant emotional disruption, love has room to deepen. Intimacy becomes safer. Connection feels less fragile. By choosing stability over drama, avoidant partners protect the relationship from burnout. They create an environment where love doesn't need to be proven repeatedly. It simply exists. And in that steady space, emotional security becomes the bond that holds everything together. Respect for emotional boundaries is one of the most underrated strengths avoidant partners bring into relationships. It doesn't appear as distance for the sake of separation. It shows up as an instinctive understanding that closeness grows best when it isn't forced. Avoidant partners recognize that emotional connection deepens when both people feel free, not cornered. They don't push for emotional access before it's ready. They don't demand immediate vulnerability. They allow feelings to unfold at a pace that feels safe, natural, and sustainable. This creates an atmosphere where openness becomes a choice, not an obligation. In everyday interactions, this respect is felt in subtle ways. Avoidant partners notice when space is needed and don't interpret it as rejection. They understand that emotional processing sometimes requires quiet, not conversation. By honoring this, they prevent emotional overwhelm and reduce unnecessary conflict. This strength also protects individuality within the relationship. Emotional boundaries ensure that one partner doesn't become responsible for regulating the other's inner world. Avoidant partners rarely blur those lines. They don't absorb emotions that aren't theirs to carry, and they don't expect their partner to manage theirs either. That balance preserves dignity and mutual respect. When boundaries are respected, trust grows naturally. You learn that your emotions won't be interrogated, rushed, or used against you. Vulnerability becomes safer because it's not met with pressure. Over time, this safety encourages deeper emotional sharing, not less. Many people mistake boundary awareness for emotional distance. In reality, it's emotional intelligence in action. Avoidant partners understand that closeness without boundaries leads to resentment, while boundaries without closeness lead to isolation. Their strength lies in maintaining both. This approach allows love to breathe. It creates a relationship where connection feels chosen every day, not demanded, and that choice, repeated calmly and respectfully, is what turns emotional boundaries into the foundation of deep, lasting intimacy. Loyalty, for avoidant partners, is not expressed through grand declarations or emotional promises. It lives in consistency, in showing up the same way on ordinary days as they do during meaningful moments. This steady presence becomes one of the strongest signals of commitment, even though it often goes unrecognized. Avoidant partners tend to demonstrate loyalty through actions that repeat quietly over time. They keep routines. They maintain reliability. They don't disappear emotionally when life becomes stressful. Their attachment may not be loud, but it is anchored. When they choose a relationship, that choice is reinforced through predictable behavior rather than constant reassurance. This form of loyalty builds trust slowly but deeply. You don't have to guess where you stand or read between emotional lines. The relationship doesn't rely on intense bonding moments to feel secure. Instead, security grows from knowing that what exists today will still be there tomorrow. Consistency also brings emotional relief. There's no pressure to constantly earn affection or stabilize the relationship after emotional swings. Avoidant partners reduce uncertainty by remaining grounded, even when emotions fluctuate. That steadiness allows love to feel dependable rather than fragile. Many confuse loyalty with emotional intensity, but intensity fades. Consistency endures. Avoidant partners invest in long-term connection by being reliable when things are calm, not just when things are difficult. Their loyalty is not reactive, it's sustained. This consistency creates a subtle but powerful bond. Over time, it communicates commitment without needing to be spoken repeatedly. It allows intimacy to grow without fear of sudden withdrawal or emotional unpredictability. Loyalty through consistency may not look dramatic, but it is deeply reassuring. It turns love into something you can rely on, not something you have to chase. And in the long run, that kind of loyalty becomes one of the most valuable forms of emotional security a relationship can offer. Calm presence and independence often work together in avoidant partners, shaping a relationship that feels steady rather than consuming. Their presence doesn't overwhelm a room, it settles it. In emotionally charged moments, they naturally slow the pace, grounding the interaction instead of amplifying tension. This calm isn't passive, it's intentional. It creates space for clarity, reflection, and emotional balance. A calm presence changes how intimacy feels. Conversations stay centered. Silence doesn't feel threatening. Emotional pauses are respected instead of rushed. Avoidant partners don't fill every gap with words or reassurance. They allow connection to exist without constant stimulation. Over time, this builds a sense of safety, where both partners can be fully themselves without performing or proving their emotions. Alongside calm presence, independence acts as a stabilizing force. Avoidant partners typically maintain a strong sense of self within relationships. Their identity doesn't dissolve into the partnership, and they don't expect their partner to become their emotional anchor. This independence prevents emotional dependency and allows love to be shared rather than demanded. Independence also encourages mutual respect. Each person is free to grow, pursue interests, and process emotions without fear of destabilizing the relationship. Avoidant partners trust that closeness doesn't require constant merging. They understand that two grounded individuals create a stronger bond than two people clinging to each other for security. Together, calm presence and independence reduce emotional pressure. The relationship doesn't revolve around managing moods or fixing emotional discomfort. Instead, it becomes a space of emotional balance, where connection feels intentional and sustainable. This combination also protects intimacy over time. Calm presence keeps emotional environments safe, while independence keeps attraction alive. There is room for longing without insecurity, closeness without loss of self. Love remains a choice, not a necessity driven by fear. Many relationships collapse under emotional intensity and overdependence. Avoidant partners counter this by offering steadiness and self-sufficiency. Their calm presence reassures, and their independence strengthens the bond without strain. In a world where love is often confused with emotional fusion, calm presence and independence redefine intimacy. They create a connection that feels grounded, respectful, and enduring, one built not on urgency, but on quiet confidence and emotional balance. Quiet commitment is one of the most meaningful strengths avoidant partners offer, because it doesn't rely on promises made in emotional moments. It's built slowly, through decisions repeated over time. Avoidant partners don't rush commitment, they settle into it, and once they do, it becomes steady, grounded, and deeply reliable. This commitment isn't performative. There are no constant declarations meant to reassure insecurity. Instead, it shows up in continued presence, thoughtful choices, and a long-term mindset. Avoidant partners think in terms of sustainability. They consider how actions today affect the relationship tomorrow, next year, and beyond. That forward thinking creates a sense of safety that grows quietly but powerfully. Long-term safety develops when love doesn't feel conditional on emotional performance. Avoidant partners don't withdraw affection to create urgency or demand closeness. Their commitment remains stable even during emotional fluctuations. This allows the relationship to feel secure without needing constant confirmation. Quiet commitment also respects emotional reality. Avoidant partners understand that love evolves. It deepens through shared experiences, mutual respect, and trust, not constant emotional intensity. They stay present through ordinary days, which is where real bonds are formed. This strength creates an environment where vulnerability can grow naturally. When you know commitment isn't reactive, you feel safer expressing yourself without fear of sudden withdrawal or instability. Over time, emotional openness increases because the foundation feels solid. Many people associate safety with reassurance, but long-term safety comes from consistency. Avoidant partners provide that through their grounded approach to commitment. They don't make love feel fragile or uncertain. They make it feel dependable. Quiet commitment doesn't demand attention, but it earns trust. It turns relationships into places of emotional refuge rather than emotional tension. And in the end, that steady sense of safety becomes the deepest expression of love, one that lasts not because it's loud, but because it's secure. Avoidant love doesn't ask to be understood. It proves itself over time. Through calm presence, emotional regulation, boundaries, consistency, and quiet commitment. Avoidant partners build relationships that are steady, not fragile. The real lesson is this: love doesn't have to be loud to be deep. When you stop measuring connection by intensity and start recognizing stability as care, everything shifts. Healthy love often feels peaceful, not dramatic. And when love creates safety instead of anxiety, it doesn't just feel better, it lasts longer.